Hello, my name is Zach Chakan, IRB Administrator, and this is Using an External IRB as the IRB of Record. This is a presentation that is part of the University of Buffalo's Clinical and Translational Science Institute's educational series, and it has been approved by the UB IRB. This presentation will cover several topics about using an external IRB, including researcher responsibilities, requirements from the reviewing IRB, what UB IRB's responsibilities are, the steps taken by the UB IRB and the reviewing IRB, and what the researcher's responsibilities are when relying on a different IRB than the University of Buffalo's. We'll start off with what a researcher's responsibilities are to start the process to begin a reliance with an external IRB. As an investigator, the first thing you have to do is to request to the Office of Research Compliance to utilize an external IRB different than the University of Buffalo's IRB. A reliance agreement needs to be drawn up and created that lays out the responsibilities of each institution's IRB during the research. Rich Corrales, the Director of Office of Research Compliance, handles the reliance agreements for the IRB. The researcher can reach out to Rich Corrales directly to start this process to draw up the reliance agreement and what is needed from the investigator's perspective. This process is usually initiated in the UB Clinical Research Office Central Study Registration System, otherwise known as CSR. Even if you do reach out to Rich Corrales, the study must go through Central Study Registration as well. Central Study Registration is required for all clinical research originating within the health sciences schools and for any clinical trials from any schools at the University of Buffalo. Within the Central Study Registration System, you will have to answer the question, who will be the IRB of record, with the name of the reviewing IRB. Central Study Registration will then contact the Director of the Office of Research Compliance to begin the reliance agreement communication with the reviewing site IRB representative. Scientific review is still performed here at UB before they are allowed to proceed through the next step of the system. If any issues are identified through the scientific review process, the investigator will be advised to edit the protocol before the final IRB submission. Any additional required reviews or regulatory requirements will be communicated through Central Study Registration to the appropriate parties, such as anything involving biosafety, radiation safety, stem cells, or recombinant DNA. Please keep in mind that when you are requesting an external IRB, and if the external IRB is a commercial IRB, such as Western IRB or Advera, the site PI must complete the request to utilize a commercial IRB form, otherwise known as the HRP 907. This form is available in the CLIC library. Another important note is that research that is determined to be exempt cannot go through an external IRB and must receive a UB IRB exempt determination. These are some of the UB IRB responsibilities. The UB IRB will verify that the reviewing institution's IRB is registered and has a valid federal-wide assurance with the Office of Human Research Protections. The IRB will verify that Buffalo's researcher city training is up to date. The Conflict of Interest Office will conduct a conflict of interest review and make sure that the researcher's conflicts of interest requirements are complete. If there are any conflict of interest management plans, those will be passed along to the reviewing IRB. It is also the IRB's job to communicate any local regulatory requirements to the other IRB, especially if there are any state laws that apply or local or university policies or requirements. One primary example of this is within the HRP 502 consent template, where any greater than minimal risk studies require our injury language that is based in the template. The HIPAA section may also apply as well in these cases. Also, any scientific reviews and other regulatory requirements that are brought up in Central Study Registration must be addressed by the principal investigator. Now, here are some requirements from the reviewing institution's IRB. So what institutional IRBs can serve as a reviewing IRB? Only institutions registered with the Office of Human Research Protections, and only institutions with a valid federal-wide assurance. A valid federal-wide assurance means that the institution must commit to the Department of Health and Human Services that it will comply with the requirements in the HHS Protection of Human Subjects Regulations at 45 CFR Part 46, otherwise known as the Common Rule. The FWA is the only type of assurance currently accepted and approved by the Office of Human Research Protections. The reviewing IRB must have the subject expertise to review the study, and only IRBs based in the United States can serve as the external IRB for studies here. For commercial IRBs, such as Advera or Western IRB, a one-time fee of $2,520 is paid to cover UB IRB's administrative expenses during the study's time being open. Here is how to execute the reliance agreement between the two IRBs. A fully executed reliance agreement means that it has been signed by the designated institutional representatives from both UB and the reviewing IRB. Some commercial IRBs have reliance agreement templates that UB has on hand for when the commercial IRB will be used. Two such examples are Advera and the Western IRB, otherwise known as the Western Copernicus Group IRB or WCG IRB. This means that you will not have to complete new templates every time, and these will be provided for you. The UB IRB prefers the Smart IRB agreement for reliance on an external IRB when it is available. SMART IRB stands for Streamlined Multi-Site Accelerated Resources for Trials. The SMART IRB is a platform that allows flexibility in the size and the scope of collaboration to enable reliance for multi-site studies across the nation through the use of one master reliance agreement. This is often used for studies that could be funded by NIH, for example. The SMART IRB is preferred, but the UB IRB will entertain alternative agreements if a site is not a member or has an acceptable rationale for not using SMART IRB. And now we'll talk a little bit about what the researcher responsibilities are throughout the time that the study is relying on an external IRB. Before the study gets submitted for IRB approval locally, you have to wait until the reliance agreement is fully executed between the two IRBs before submitting the study to the other IRB. An executed reliance agreement does not mean that the study is approved. You cannot conduct research activities until the study actually gets IRB approval from the sites. When completing the Click Smart IRB form, if the IRB does not autofill on the form, you may contact either Rich Corrales, Serena Dietz, or Tom Wendt, and their contact information is shown in this slide. After the study has been submitted in Click, the UB IRB will acknowledge the submission after looking through and making sure that all documents and requirements are in place. The Click submission will show that the study is active instead of approved as it would for any locally approved studies. You may need to select Update External IRB Status to upload some documents. When this is the case, especially at the onset, you will need to include the fully executed reliance agreement and include all documents approved by the reviewing IRB and the approval letter from the reviewing IRB so we know what the end approval dates are. If any documents have been edited or other changes made to the study that have been approved by the reviewing IRB, those will need to be seen in the Click submission locally as well. As stated in the previous slide, the IRB prefers that you would choose Update External IRB Status to make these changes. In these submissions, you would include the approved modification letter from the reviewing IRB, and then add any new or edited documents to the supporting documents section. If any documents or materials are no longer being used, they may be removed. If you're doing an external IRB Update Submission. After everything is complete, you would choose OK. And under the Next Steps section on the left side of the page, if you are in your History tab, you should be able to have the option to select Finalize Updates. If you do not have that option, then perhaps the PI will be the only one who has that option. If you do submit a modification, instead of choosing Update External IRB Status, you will have to submit your modification like you would for any local submission. If your Update External IRB Status or modification submission includes a continuing review along with it, please include the approval letter from the reviewing IRB in that submission. This will include the end approval date so we can update that in the CLIC system. In these submissions as well, please include the updated protocol if one has been changed or any other updated documents. For an external IRB study, if there is a reportable new information that needs to be submitted to notify the UB IRB, you may do so in a similar manner as what you would do for a local RNI submission. Please attach the RNI and any documents related to it to the body of the RNI. Unlike local study submissions, there is no option in CLIC to submit a study closure for an external IRB study. This will have to be done with an EXT update submission where you would choose Update External IRB Status. In that submission, please include a closure letter from the reviewing IRB. It should show the date that the study was closed to IRB oversight. When this happens, please email or call or contact the IRB to notify us of study closure so we can close out your study administratively in the CLIC system. The CLIC library does have some additional resources available, including the HRP 907 form that was mentioned earlier in the submission, and the investigator manual that talks a little bit about external IRBs, and both are found under the General tab in the CLIC library. There is also a policy document, the HRP 903 Procedure for Ceding of IRB Review to Another Institution, that goes step by step into what is needed to start this process, and for every step along the way. This is found under the Standard Operating Procedures tab in the CLIC library. Thank you for your time and attention during this presentation about using external IRBs at the University of Buffalo. If you have any additional questions, you may contact Valerie Bailoni at the UB IRB helpline at 716-888-4888 or ub-irb@buffalo.edu. You may also contact me directly at 716-888-4874. Marchelle Brooks and Alexis O'Brien are the CTSI clinical research facilitators and may be able to answer your questions as well. Their phone number is 716-829-4357 and their email is ctsihelp@buffalo.edu. Thank you again.